Hey, welcome back. I hope you had a good weekend or are having a good weekend depending on when you're seeing this video. 11-4 is about your triangles, and the one thing that I want to really convey to you is that you can name triangles based on two different characteristics. You can name triangles based on their angles, or you can name triangles based on their sides. So I want you to look. We're going to start with our angles because we've been working with angles, and I want to be able to have you see different triangles. The first triangle that I'm going to show you is the acute triangle. Now, one thing that you need to notice with the acute triangle is that all three angles in a triangle are acute. Each side of a triangle meets at a vertex. We've talked about vertices this week. And each angle, or as each side meets, it makes an angle. So a triangle has three angles, and an acute triangle has three acute angles. Now, the second triangle that I want to talk about when you're naming triangles by angles is the right triangle. Now, I think the right triangle is really easy to see. And I want you, after looking at this triangle, I want you to see or think to yourself why this is the right triangle. If you're thinking because it has one right angle, then you're absolutely right. We call this the right triangle because of its right angle. It's going to have one right angle. It cannot have two right angles. It has one right angle. So if you're looking at a triangle and it has a right angle, then it is going to be a right triangle. Lastly, if you're thinking to yourself, if we talked about the acute triangle and the right triangle, I want you to see if you can think of the third one. Absolutely right. The obtuse triangle. This triangle has one obtuse angle. So really you just have to look at your angles of a triangle. You can't really see that, can you? You really have to look at the angles of a triangle to name the triangle by the angles. Remember, the acute triangle, all three angles are acute angles. They open less than a 90-degree, a right angle. A right triangle, one right angle. A right triangle has one right angle. And an obtuse triangle, a triangle is an obtuse triangle if it has one obtuse angle. Kind of like the right triangle, a triangle cannot have more than one obtuse angle. It would be a different polygon. So that's one way you can name triangles. This eraser's not very good. The second way you can name triangles is by its sides. You can either have an equilateral triangle, a scaling triangle, or an isosceles triangle. I'm going to do an equilateral triangle first. One thing that I want you to notice about an equilateral triangle, and you can use its name to really help you tell this, is that all the sides are equal. All the sides have equal length. And because they have equal length, it is an equilateral triangle. A second triangle that you can name by the sides, the length of the sides, is your isosceles triangle. Now, one thing to know about your isosceles triangle is that two sides are equal. And I'm using these dash marks to really tell you the length of the sides. If they have the same number of dash marks, then it's the same side. So if you look, these two sides right here are the same side, or same size. So this is going to be an isosceles triangle. So remember, let's review. Equilateral triangle, you're going to have all three sides are equal. Your isosceles triangle, two of the sides are equal. Now, last but not least is your scaling triangle. Your scaling triangle. So if you're thinking about where we started with all three sides are equal, we started with two sides are equal. Well, a scaling triangle means that zero sides are equal. No sides are going to be the same amount. So I'm going to draw this, and let me draw that bigger for you. I don't know why I drew it that small. We have this side. None of those sides are equal. And since none of them are equal, it's going to be a scaling triangle. So let's recap the sides. Let me write these names on the board so you can see. Let me make sure it's on the video. Your equilateral triangle, all sides are equal. All sides are equal on an equilateral triangle. Your isosceles triangle, two sides are equal. So we'll do, over here we'll put our sides column. Equilateral, all sides. Isosceles, two sides. And your scaling triangle have no sides that are equal. Oh, let me get out of the way. So when you're naming triangles, they can actually have two names. You can name them by their sides and by their angles. So let me draw a triangle on the board now. I have a triangle right there, and I'm going to make it bigger. I have a triangle on the board right there. Now, I told you earlier we can name triangles by the length of their sides and their angles. So let's start with angles. Let's name this triangle by the angles. I have 1, 2, 3 acute angles. So think to yourself, what name is this triangle? If you said acute, you're right. This is an acute triangle. Now, let's look at the length of the sides. It looks like these two are equal and this one's not. So, if I have two sides that are equal, I'm going to think, oh, it is an isosceles triangle. Again, the main thing out of today is naming triangles. You can name triangles by the angles, and you can name triangles by the sides. I hope you have a good day.